Welcome back. This is Coastal Daybreak here on the talk station, FM 107 AM 1240. I know just by the title probably has a lot of people pulling this book off the shelf to take a look at it, too. Our next guest is Mike Love. The subtitle is Creating Loving Relationships That Will Last a Lifetime, but the title is Confessions of a Recovering Stupid Male. And Mike joins us now. Good morning, Mike.
Hi, how are you?
Good to have you with us here today. A great title. Great title
of the book.
But what does it reflect?
Well, it reflects my own journey back from being a stupid male to recovering. I had turned myself after I realized some of the things I needed to change in my life with my wife and my kids, and and making a better family life. I consider myself a recovering stupid male, and I had some people say, well, you ought to write a book about that, and evidently I did.
So you're recovering, you say, from what? From your own inattention in your marriage, or a variety of things? Your book has a lot of lists, so just curious about that.
Well, my basic thing is to recover from the pseudo-macho trip that I was living, like a lot of men are brought up into, and not, you get into a relationship and you're not listening to your spouse or your girlfriend. You think you have all the answers. You're not willing to compromise, things along those lines that cause relationship problems down the road. And with my own experience in my 18 years of marriage at that point, I had messed it up to the point that we were both ready to call it quits, and I realized ahead of time that, I need to make some changes because I didn't want that to happen, and I knew the changes had to come within me.
Well, what was it? Did you reach a particular point? Was there an epiphany after 18 years?
Yeah, it came down to, it was right in the spring of, I believe it was 2003, we were going to go take the kids to see Bruce Almighty, and my wife and I got into a hellacious argument, mainly on my end more than on her end, but we had both gotten to the point where, we weren't sure if we were going to make it or not, and through the movie, I got the message, you don't know what you have until you lose it, and I thought I had lost it, and then I realized I had to make some changes to bring it back, and that took a lot of time and a lot of healing.
We have in our society, though, and especially in our entertainment industry, we kind of have a lot of images out there now of guys who are clueless, whether they're stupid fathers or they're clueless about their relationships with their wives. Is that? Do you think that's a fair reflection that we see in some societal things now? I mean, as opposed to, as you said, you grew up with the macho image. That's probably another unfair reflection.
Yeah, I believe, that's a part of that. For millennia, we've been brought up that we're supposed to, one of the few feelings that we're able to experience is anger, and that for a long time society said, well, that's okay as long as it doesn't get too far out of control. Well, they never put the guidelines down on what's too far out of control, and I think a lot of the anger that men have is not being able to be human first and allow our feelings to be what they are, and instead we put up all this pseudo-macho stuff that's not what we're supposed to be feeling, and that has caused conflict for so many years in our relationships. Women are supposed to be second class, men are supposed to be kings of the house, and our society, whether in entertainment or whether in movies, TV, what have you, tell us otherwise, and so we're brought up that way, and that's all we seem to know.
I think a lot of our societal things in the entertainment, we see men on the fringes. They're either one extreme or the other. They're rarely the compassionate middle ground.
Right.
For you, was this a faith change too, or a renewal, or?
I would say that it was the beginning of my spiritual journey, Before, I was more into the materialism, it's me first, just didn't really care about the feelings of my spouse as much as I cared about my feelings, and I couldn't understand why she couldn't get on the bandwagon as well, And I say after the epiphany, as you call it, it was a kind of a spiritual awakening as well.
Okay. Again, the book is called Confessions of a Recovering Stupid Male by Mike Love. And Mike, what else? What do you do I understand that you've done some work as a counseling experience now. Is this since this experience?
Oh yeah, I started my counseling experience back in the mid '80s, where I was working with families, with teenagers, and then since then worked with teenagers specifically, and families not so much. But yeah, I've been doing that for about a quarter of a century.
Was some of that work also? Did you see yourself in some of that work? Is that part of this?
Yeah, I see it with young teens nowadays, especially men. They got to prove that they're macho, and I don't need anybody else's opinions. I can do it myself, as much as I can see with the males of all ages. But then again, I've also seen the other part of it where I have seen men compassionate and open-minded, and what I call the new conscious male.
There is a growing sense of couples that split up after being married for 20, 25 years. It seems like there are more that are splitting up after long-term marriages, and your experience here may help out some to realize why they're getting to these points where seemingly insignificant items take on greater significance and greater ones, and then they start to drive wedges in your relationship. Your book, again, called Confessions of a Recovering Stupid Male, Creating Loving Relationships That Will Last a Lifetime, and Mike Love is the author. And Mike, how are your relationships now?
My relationship with my wife and my kids haven't been better. I mean, I've made a lot of changes. Like I say, a lot of healing went on. It took a long time for my wife to begin to trust again in our relationship and in me. And, at the point now, I was real happy and honored that she did the foreword in my book to talk about her small experiences and some of the leaps that I've made in my own conscious evolution.
Well, Mike, we want to thank you for joining us here today.
Well, thank you for having me.
Mike Love, again, the book Confessions of a Recovering Stupid Male.